The greatest conqueror of the ancient world had marched thousands of miles, crushed mighty empires, and defeated every army that dared stand against him. But in 326 BC, on the banks of a rain-soaked river in northern India, Alexander the Great met an opponent unlike any he had faced before. His name was King Porus, and the battle that followed would become one of history's most legendary confrontations. The story unfolds along the Hydaspes River, known today as the Jhelum River, in present-day Pakistan. Alexander had already conquered the vast Persian Empire and pushed his army farther east than anyone thought possible. His soldiers had crossed deserts, climbed mountains, and won victory after victory. Many believed there was no force on earth capable of stopping the Macedonian king. Waiting on the opposite bank was Porus, ruler of the Paurava Kingdom. Towering in stature and respected by his warriors, Porus commanded a disciplined army supported by a weapon Alexander had never faced in large numbers on an open battlefield: massive Indian war elephants. Their sheer size, thunderous footsteps, and armored appearance terrified both horses and men, creating a psychological advantage before the battle had even begun. For days, the swollen river prevented Alexander from crossing. Heavy monsoon rains turned the water into a dangerous barrier, while Porus carefully watched every movement from the opposite shore. It seemed impossible for either side to gain the advantage. Then Alexander devised one of the boldest military deceptions of his career. Night after night, he moved troops along the riverbank, confusing Porus about where the real crossing would occur. Finally, during a violent storm, Alexander secretly led a selected force upstream and crossed under the cover of darkness. When Porus realized the deception, he rapidly marched to confront the invaders before they could fully organize. The stage was set for one of the most dramatic battles of the ancient world. As the armies collided, Macedonian cavalry charged across the muddy plain, while Indian archers and infantry fought to hold their ground. Then the elephants advanced. Their enormous bodies crashed into Alexander's formations, scattering horses and trampling soldiers beneath their feet. For perhaps the first time in years, Alexander's army found itself facing genuine uncertainty. Victory was no longer guaranteed. Alexander adapted quickly. His disciplined troops surrounded the elephants, attacking from multiple directions while avoiding direct charges. As the battle stretched on, exhausted animals became increasingly difficult to control, sometimes turning back into their own ranks. Even so, Porus refused to retreat. Mounted atop an elephant, he continued directing his soldiers despite suffering serious wounds, inspiring fierce resistance until the very end. Eventually, the Macedonians gained the upper hand, and Porus was captured. What happened next became one of the most famous moments in military history. Alexander asked the defeated king how he wished to be treated. Porus answered with remarkable confidence, "Treat me as a king." Impressed by his courage, dignity, and refusal to beg for mercy, Alexander did exactly that. Rather than stripping him of power, he restored Porus to his throne and even expanded his territory, turning a former enemy into a trusted ally. It was a decision driven not only by respect but also by practical wisdom, as governing distant lands required loyal local rulers. Yet, the battle's greatest consequence came after the fighting ended. Alexander's weary soldiers had reached their limit. Hearing reports of even larger kingdoms farther east with thousands more war elephants, they refused to march deeper into India. Despite all his victories, Alexander could not persuade his own army to continue. For the first time in his extraordinary career, the conqueror was forced to turn back. King Porus may not have destroyed Alexander's army, but his determined resistance helped bring the Great Eastern Campaign to its final chapter. The Battle of the Hydaspes proved that courage, leadership, and resilience could earn the respect of even history's greatest conqueror. Centuries later, the encounter remains a symbol of honor between two remarkable kings, one remembered for conquering much of the known world, and the other for standing his ground against the man who seemed impossible to stop.